So, so first of all, I just want to thank you so much for being here, Michelle. Your career, everything. I've been a fan, just a fly on the wall, watching you do your thing, just hearing some amazing things, not being able to believe it. But there was times where we were able to catch up, and I thought that was great. So I just want to introduce Michelle Bell, who has produced and procured song placements and contributed to 40 million plus albums, album sales worldwide. Songwriting, production, vocal credits include Jennifer Lopez, Britney Spears, Timberland, Sean Diddy Combs, Nelly Furtado, Mary J Blige, Nas, Bilal, and many others, and has amassed thousands of sync licenses with her personal catalog, not trying to hustle and work other people's catalogs, her personal catalog. And, and I just want to kind of like leave it right there and just thank you so much for being here and being a part of this interview. I'm so excited to have you. Welcome to the Stirr.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. Excited for you. What a really cool idea. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we have some tea going right now. So,
nice.
So, and that's what it's all about is just stirring up some conversations over tea. And so I want to kick it off like this. And you're probably going to laugh at me, but I get my kicks from it. I spend my time on it. I live for this. You notice everything that matters to me. It's so important. You got my heart soaring. I adore it.
Oh, yeah. I remember the lyrics. I don't remember which song. Wow, it's like the melody's kind of coming back, but that's you really dug that one up from somewhere. That's awesome.
Well, you would never get the melodies from me trying to come any close to saying it or singing it. So that I don't blame you for at all. So no worries about that. So the thing that I want to know in just that is just throwing that out as a thing. What was the inspiration around kind of like painting that picture? Kind of get into how your mind works and your thought process of, and I call it painting a picture because they're words, but you have a paintbrush, you're an artist, and you have a canvas. So I'm just curious, like when it comes to something like that, your thoughts around that.
I think my writing style has always been in the moment. There's never one story. It's kind of 3 to 4 different stories. Maybe something I'm going through, something that someone else is going through that they've told me about their story. It can be anything from love to career, or just writing about. No one song is really about anything, I think, in particular. It's interesting. I look back at songs now that I wrote, and they have new meaning than they did probably when I wrote them. I wrote them in one mindset, but they talk to me differently now. So it just kind of depends on the song. But usually I'm just kind of in the moment. I always like to start at the top. A lot of people start with the hook, but I always like to start with the intro. The first line of any song is what's going to grab people, the very first thing they hear. So usually I try to start in the middle somewhere instead of just making it super obvious. So yeah, it could have been any number of things that was happening that day.
Spoken like a true creative. Well, take me back to Canton, Ohio.
Yeah.
Where it all started.
Yeah.
Tell me about family. Tell me about the love. Tell me about the understanding about life and where all that came from, about Michelle Lynn Bell as a child.
Aw. I always tell people I was kind of forced into the music business from the time I was born. There were people singing to me. Michelle My Bell was, I thought that every kid had a song, a soundtrack that came with their name or something. Probably the doctor sang it to me as a baby. And then when I went to school, every teacher I ever had sang that to me, as soon as they saw my name. So it was like people were singing to me, from the time that I got here. And then I just came from a really musical family. Everybody, my brother played the organ and piano, and my uncle played the drums, and, another uncle played the trumpet, and everybody sang, and my mother sang, and, was in the choir. And, so singing was very serious in our family. Like, that's kind of how I, learned to harmonize, because it was like, no, you don't have your part. You sit this one out till you get it. You got to stay on your harmony. So my family was pretty brutal. There were no, like, you're just a kid and you just get to sing along. It was like, no, you sit down until you've got it. So, I think they thought they were the Jacksons. And, so that's kind of how I grew up, is with a lot of singing, lots of love, and lots of church. Church was kind of the number one place to hear music too. We went to church all the time. So that's where I really, really learned to sing and to, kind of get into music.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, I, is pretty hilarious. I was in the church choir, and I was always rocking back and forth off beat. And I was a guy that was like, oh man, I'm about to hit this tenor note. Like, what? And it was, you see some eyes kind of turn. Like, that was so, but man, I know it. I respect it and I appreciate that. So yeah, just that love, that church love of just, it just gets ingrained in you. So you went to Kent State University, right?
I did. I went on a scholarship, actually. It was like an early college advanced placement program that I just kind of happened into. And that was great. That was really the start for me. I met a great guidance counselor, Latharda Scoggins, who had a good friend that worked at the Beacon Journal, Marilyn Miller Roan. I love to give them a shout out anytime I can, because it was life changing. I mean, that was the road for me. I begged her for that job. It took me about maybe 3 or 4 months to get it. And I called her every day and just stayed on top of it. And she finally hired me, just I think she was tired of hearing me. But it changed my life when I would come in early. They had like their main office was in Akron, so it's maybe about 30 minutes away, but they had a small office in Canton, and I would go in early and stay late. And, they had letterhead back then. It wasn't a lot of email. You had to type out your stuff and put it on the paper and, fax it over. And I realized that no one was covering music for the Akron Beacon Journal, like Black music or rap music, or, they weren't really going to the shows like that and doing, reviews. So I started using their letterhead just to get tickets to some of my favorite rap shows. And then it turned into me interviewing people. And then one day I got a call from my boss that was like, there's a publicist, from Warner who's like asking to speak to you. She's like the head of publicity, and they want to talk to you about this show coming into town. Do you want to tell me about this? And I was like, yeah, patch it through first, and then we'll have a little chat. I was bananas, not even 20 years old. I was probably like 19, but these guys in New York at these record labels, I wore them down, and they thought, I was the, head music editor. Before I left, we did, talk about a job, but by then I had already networked and met so many people at labels. I was like, I'm out of here. I'm going to New York to fulfill my dreams now. So Kent State University, great school, but also, the knowledge, the people that I met there, just life-changing and incredible for me. So very thankful.
Wow. Because I mean, so maybe you could fill in the details a little bit more, because you kind of answered my next question a little bit. Being from Canton, Ohio, it's not the most common route to landing in New York City and actually staying with Puffy to write music. So tell me about your journey and just like how you got there. Just fill in a little bit of the details around what you just told me.
A lot of networking and a lot of manifesting. I literally got on the train, which is where I think I met your friend. So I got on the train with the Source magazine. It was the one where Puffy was on the cover. He had on like a white robe or something. And I was like, this is the guy that I've got to get to. And when I get to him, I know that this is the ticket. This is my way. He's innovative. He's new. He's changing the game. I mean, Bad Boy was it, it was, and also I had a lot of promotional materials for them. Because again, I had the Akron Beacon Journal. I started freelancing with The Source. So they would send me stuff. I had all the Craig Mack and Biggie, and out of everything that I was getting, they were just, everything about them stood out. And I was like, this is going to be the wave of the future. He's young and hungry, and he has all these people working for him. And it's just, this is my dream. But everybody goes to New York and gets off the train and is like, I'm going to get to Puffy, So I don't know how God designed it. He did a pretty good job, but I was able to manifest that and get to him through a lot of networking, publicists, people that I met who knew people. And for me, if I met one person, I met 10. I was going to ask you, for referrals, or can I talk to your friend, or can I get this person's email, or, just a lot of networking. So when I, finally got to sit down with him, I actually interviewed for a marketing job with him. And I definitely wasn't ready for anything like that. It was fake it to make it. Did not get the job. I sat with the guy, Kirk Burrows, who was really lovely. But I just totally wasn't ready for that. But I did end up getting, I worked with Carl Kanai and just kind of an assistant startup. And there was a woman there named Teresa Scott. It was Teresa Scott and Jeff Tweedy who said, we're going to a company called Sean John. And I was like, Puffy? And they took me with them. So I started as an intern, kind of getting paid nothing. And my parents were like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? I had been interviewing with some pretty cool companies, but my heart was set on Bad Boy. And once I got in that office, we were on the same floor as him, and it was game over. I worked the BMG building I had free clothes coming from Sean John. So I didn't use those clothes for anything. I gave them to anybody who would listen to my demo. There were a couple of publishers, on a few of the other floors, any A&Rs. It was like, I'll give you a Sean John t-shirt, Sean John sweatsuit, anything. Just listen to my music, put me in the studio, give me a chance. And the songs weren't that great in the beginning, but the better the songs got, I finally got a look. And actually someone in Puffy's camp, Jessica Rivera, took a chance and was like, I'm going to play one of your songs for Puff. And he was at the tail end of the J-Lo album, and I was the last song to make it, and the rest was history. So, yeah.
Jesus, that extraordinary hustle, that grit, and that undying belief of who you are and where you belong and what you deserve, I think is so powerful that, wow, we'll get into it a little bit, but I'm just blown away by that. So I just wanted to ask, early on, well, let me just jump right in.
Okay.
Jennifer Lopez, since you already said the name, tell me about that experience.
Wow. Wow. Just again, someone who definitely changed my life, but also really, the first time I met her, most writers didn't get to go into the studio. She sang your song, you did the backgrounds or whatever you were going to contribute. And then she went in with Corey Rooney and I insisted. I was like, no, this is so important. I have to get a picture, and I have to go and meet her, and she's singing my song, and I want to make sure it's done right. And, at that time, nobody was really, you couldn't press for things like that. You should be so lucky to even get the record. But, I think Puff saw something in me and was like, no, she's, you're cool. I think she'll like you. And we met at the studio. She was wonderful and beautiful and amazing. And, I got to kind of sit and watch her go through it. And, I didn't have a whole lot of input, I was learning too at the time. And, being able to watch Corey kind of do the vocals with her and hear the finished product, it was unbelievable. It wasn't until a few years later that we really connected, probably like '04, I guess, '05. I was working with an engineer a new producer, really, who was trying to break out. He had been an engineer and in all the best rooms, but nobody was, he wasn't getting a lot of cuts or placements as a producer. And I just thought he was brilliant. A friend put us together, and I hadn't heard anything like that. His sound was really different and unique. And So I just kind of quit everything I was doing and really just partnered with him. And he was going back in to work with her. He had been working with at her house and working with her and Mark. And we were working on something that was supposed to be my album, which ended up becoming the bulk of Jennifer's Brave album. We had maybe been working on this for about 7-8 months. And he was like, look, I don't know if any label's going to take this. I don't know what's going to happen, but are you okay with me playing some of these records for Jennifer? And I was like, okay, I could kind of use the cash, and it's, you have your up and down years with this thing. And she loved it. And we just went in, and I mean, we must have recorded about 10 songs. And it was, I mean, wonderful. The things, just being in with her one-on-one, but also, she was with Mark at the time, just an incredible human. And he had so much to offer, and just, I mean, so much wisdom. There were nights where it was just like, teach me, sensei, you know what I mean? Like her, role in this world as a woman in this business. But she's just the creme de la creme, just in her personality, her work ethic, her drive, her passion, her tenacity, but also just her, I mean, she's very like routine. It's like, I'm getting up, I'm working out, I'm doing this, I'm by the book, I was kind of used to people who were like, yeah, maybe we'll go out after this, but no, she wasn't in the studio. It was like, it was fun, always fun, but she was work, because right after the studio session, I have 3 other things. I got to shoot this and look at this script and meet with this person. And I mean, the people that I met with her, it was like, you're just sitting there, and then Donatella Versace walks in the room, and you're like, wait, what is this? What's going on? Donatella's just here. She's going to stand here, right? Is she just standing here? She's standing here. It's Donatella Versace. I met so many extraordinary people with her, just mind blowing, just one of the best experiences of my life. She is just a dear, and so important to my career and development as a person, but definitely as a businesswoman for sure. She's top tier.
Wow. Okay. We got to keep this interview going, right? Mary J. Blige, No More Drama.
Yeah. That was a really fun time and really great process. That was one that I wrote that song right after I got my deal. It was the very first song that I wrote. I wrote it in the conference room at Universal. It was like my first day sort of going up and meeting the team. And, I met some kids in the hallway who were like, we're here for meetings too. And one of them was like, I sing. It ended up being a really talented writer, Makiba Riddick. And I was like, well, come in the conference room and sing this song that I wrote for Mary J. Blige, because I just met her A&R team in the hallway, literally just met everybody. And I was like, I've got a track for Mary that I've been wanting to write. I'll go write it right now. And they were like, okay, cool. We'll see us tomorrow. And 20 minutes later, I came back with testimony like, this is it. And these guys sing. They're going to sing it for you. They sing, a lot better than me. And they booked the studio. We went in that night. And it's funny because every time I see Mary, just to kind of tell you, looking back, I'm really proud of the business moves that I made. But for the first, 10 years, every time I would see her, it was like, oh, I remember you 50%, I remember. I had a really good attorney, and I was very strict about, this is my song and I wrote it. It's mine and I want my percentage. The producer did this, but I did this. It's 50% always. And looking, I mean, back, there were certain instances where I did end up bending a lot, and, you want to give the artist their respect, and, but I love that she always remembered me as the 50% girl. I always felt like, I'll take that. That's actually kind of cool. I saw her one time when I first moved to LA, and it was like a really cool small party that Dr. Dre had to like watch the game, and she was there, and and I went up to her and I was like, hey, it's been a really long time. I don't know if you remember me. And she's like, 50%, I remember you. And like the whole place is kind of looking, and I'm like, yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's me. That was me. That's cool. But I mean, she is the gift that keeps on giving. She's just, to be a part of her catalog, or Jennifer's catalog, I feel like being a part of their legacy. But that's probably one of my favorite songs that I wrote. I mean, coming from Ohio and growing up in the church, my first song was kind of racy. Come Over was a little sexy, and Testimony was the complete opposite. It was all churchy. So I was really happy to present that to my family. But, having the opportunity to be on her album and work with her was just huge. So yeah, will always love Mary. She's one of my favorite artists of all time. So she's phenomenal.
Absolutely incredible. Well, so early on, there's generally a strategic moment before a song drops. Uh, what are those moments like to make sure that you take full advantage of the opportunity? Tell me about those trains moving and making sure that those things stay on the track to get that song out there and make sure does the numbers it's supposed to.
It's tough because as a writer, you're really at the will of we're at the mercy of the label and the promotional team and the radio team. There have been so many times when I felt like this is it. This is the one. This is going to be the life-changing, game-changing one. And it's not. And then there are times when I'm like, I showed up, this will probably be nothing. And that's the one that's like, whoa, that was great. That made a lot of money. You just never know with these things. It's like you put your heart and soul into something and then you hope for the best. You don't want to always put your eggs in one basket, but you never know how these things are going to work out. I feel like these days you have much more access to push it yourself with social media. You can go online and really promote every day and, do cool things. But, when I worked with Jennifer and, Mary and even Britney back then, it was, whatever the labels thinks the rollout is going to be and however they want to do it. And, there were a few times that my partner and I would, we'd have some friends at the radio station and we'd be like, just play our song and see if we can get it going, but really it's up to the labels and what they're going to do.
Well, I completely understand that. And so I want to get to that next question of the Grammys. Tell me about how do you feel about awards, Grammy Awards, and your role working with the Grammys?
It's such a wonderful thing to say that, I'm a part of the Academy, especially after all these years. I think what makes it so special is that, very early on I was eligible, but I don't think I really knew. It was like, I want to win a Grammy, but I didn't really know the behind the scenes of it, of being a part of the Academy. So I didn't really push for that. And then there's this space where, every great writer, creator, or anyone has this up and down period where it ebbs and flows. And you hope that you're going to have the 30-year career where you're going forever, but no one just has a straight zoom hit every year. You have some lulls, So for me, I felt like after such a long career and taking some dips and then coming back and taking some dips and coming back, it was really cool to be accepted into the Academy as more of a publisher than a writer, because it's kind of like having a second wind or having a second life. It's like, wow, 15 plus years later, I'm still eligible for the Grammys. The requirements are you have to have songs that have been current in the last few years, and your peers have to say vote for you, and and it's you have to be recommended. It's just the whole thing. And it was really cool to know that after all this time, there are a lot of people that I started with who aren't eligible, haven't had the cuts or haven't been a part of something. So to still be current, it feels great. And to be, a part of it is awesome. I do want to say, I really like the people who don't put too much weight on winning awards. I think that half the battle is following through and doing it. Putting something out, putting your music out that's an extraordinary feat, because somebody has wanted to do it for years and never did it. So for me, the people that finish the project, hunker down, you put it out, you're all deserving of awards because you followed through with what's in your heart. So it doesn't necessarily mean validation to win the Grammy. Just do it. It doesn't matter what you're going to win. That shouldn't be why you're doing it, to win awards or to get money, because 9 times out of 10, it's, those things don't come easy, either one. So you got to do it because you love it. So.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. But when you think you got it, sometimes you're surprised by that. So by not receiving that award. So you have like this unique eye for talent. I mean, you've signed 4 Grammy nominated multi-platinum producers and songwriters.
Yeah, I love there's just a thing that you can feel in someone's music I love getting there first and seeing people, and I like being right. You know, it's easy for everyone to say, oh, this person's great when their song is on the radio and it's picking up steam. It's a whole nother thing to say, I think this person is going to be amazing and nobody sees it yet. And you're just kind of posting like, trust me, this person's going to be awesome. And then in 7 months, everybody's posting, you know, on this person. That's a good feeling, but it also just comes from being in the studio so much. It's the magic of, you know, I don't have a problem saying I wrote a lot of duds, a lot of songs that were not that great, that weren't that hot at all. You know, sometimes I'll get with a producer friend and we'll do the worst of the worst, you know, like let's hear the worst song you've ever, you know, wrote, and let's hear my worst song. And they're not going to all be extraordinary. But I think that there's just this feeling that you get when you know this is authentic and this person is authentic and I can see them going really far. You feel that. And I don't care if they have 5 followers or 500,000 followers. Followers don't mean success. And, you know, even streams don't even spell out success sometimes. I feel like there's so many people who are just brilliant and talented. Their time just hasn't come yet, you know, but it will. There's something special there. So, yeah, just believing in people. And also a little bit of encouragement goes a long way, really does.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's something about like, you know, your energy and intention, you know, that there's this quiet confidence, and you could kind of feel that exuding, you know, from that person. And it's not just the talent, but there's something else there, generally that charisma. So have you ever had to fight for a project or an artist?
Every day, always. That's all I do is fight. That's why I was running late, because I'm fighting, constantly fighting the good fight, every day. Big artists, small artists, there's always a fight. There's always going to be a fight. No matter how far you are up in the food chain, you're fighting. The further up you go in the food chain, you're really fighting, fighting to stay relevant, fighting to stay on, fighting to get the right money that you deserve, you know. And when you're just starting, you're fighting to keep the lights on, fighting to keep your dreams alive. When you have to get a 40-hour a week job, when you really just want to be in the studio all day, but the studio isn't the thing that's, you know, bringing in the paper. So, you know, or keeping your lights on. So there's always, I'm always fighting the good fight with my writers, artists. I feel like my whole, I feel like I'm a warrior, just cutting down the trees, trying to create new paths, but also, you know, trying to turn the tide for, you know, some of these old business models and the bureaucracy and politics that just doesn't fit the new world, doesn't fit where we're going with the new artists. So constantly, constantly fighting, always an uphill battle, always.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing to hear and to know that, like, you first off, you're a maverick, the way that you kind of just came blazing a trail and finding your way to New York and finding your way into the studio and finding but for you to be on the right side of history in terms of how you think, and innovation, and your forward-looking way in which you kind of, you know, take care of your artists and how you look at the industry, that's pretty amazing. So kudos to you. So here's something that's really interesting. So our paths, they keep crossing, and it's kind of eerie, but it's pretty cool. And so regarding J-Lo, I was actually in her album cover shoot, and you know, was that?
So which album?
She had a fur, and she was getting photographed by paparazzi.
Okay, yeah.
And so I was one of those photographers, right? There's about 5 models, and but it was just really interesting because, you know, that moment was really peculiar for me. You know, for instance, you know, JLo and I, really interesting. We had this weird eye contact, and I didn't understand what it was, but it was like a long stare, right? And
That's
I
what,
don't, well, I don't know if she recognized me. I'm like, I look familiar, or what it might have been. But as a model, you just kind of play along, right? And you're there, you're just nodding and smiling. But like Benny Medina, whatever it was, he wasn't having it. And so needless to say, as beautiful as my shots were on the tests, I wasn't on the cover. so I just kind of round that out by just saying that, you know, for me, I had to, a part of my journey was, you know, like lessons like that taught me about power. And, you know, how is it that one human being can hold the power in that moment of your life, right? You know, in their hands. And, you know, it just kind of sent me on a journey of trying to understand how not to be in a situation like that, but where I can hold the power in my own hands for my own journey. And so, you know, so I was just trying to take it there, but like just your idea, thoughts, or how you've dealt with power brokers in the industry, where, you know, with the wave of a finger or a stroke of a pen can, like, you know, remove you from something. Like, how do you navigate when your intention is just to create? Your intention is to serve your family. You know, how have you navigated these things, especially being a female in the industry and having to deal with, you know, just men on every level, but these power brokers, whether it's men or female? How have you dealt with it?
I'll tell you, the cutting room floor is real. That is a hurting place to be. And I have been there a number of times. So many times where I thought, you know, again, this is it, or I've got 8 songs on the album and it comes down to one. How'd I get one song? I worked with this person for 18 months, you know. That is, it's hard. It's disheartening. But I think there's the, you know, I've learned that you can't be too precious about anything. You can't put too much weight into anything. Everything is great. Every opportunity is great, but everything can't be the end be all end all. Because even if you get it, even if you land it, I got it, I made it, I saw my name on the screen, and it's still like, okay, what's the next thing? You know what I mean? It's like, you're never, you know, you can't chase that, like chasing the hit or chasing that high of getting that thing, because you'll, you know, just be running yourself in circles, because there's always going to be disappointments, but you're always going to want more. It's like more, feeding the more machine of yourself. Like, that's not enough. Now that I got this, I was sure that I would be happy if I got, you know, this song, or if I got this placement, or if I got on this person. And then you get there and it's like, I'm still, this isn't enough. You know what I mean? So I've learned to take it in stride. You know, you're not going to win them all. And if you just kind of look at it all, like, you plant the seeds and you wait to see what's going to grow in the garden. Some things aren't going to grow, but you've got to water everything. And sometimes it's been the things that I didn't pay very much attention to that have really been the life-changing moments, or the things, or the people even, that it's like, oh, they're not as big as this person, and I didn't get this opportunity, so I'm going to pass on this because I'm feeling a little bit down. And then that thing blows up and it's like, I had that in my hand, you know? So it's just kind of, you can't, there's no real formula. It's like, you know, when it comes to the power brokers and the powers that be, everybody has been in that position where you want to help everybody, or you're finally in a place where you are the power person, but you get there and you're like, now I finally have the say. You know, I feel that way some days as a publisher, like, I'm the publisher that I wanted to be and the change that I want to be, but I still have to call the A&Rs and fight to get this song on the album, fight to get this new person in the studio. You must get them in there. Sometimes I'll like jump up and down, like, you have to, because what are you, you know, it's like a little bit of guilt. Like, we have to help the new people. That's what we're here for. All these people are already in the room. Like, you know, it's fighting the good fight, but with the power brokers, it's always going to be somebody's hands is tied because there's someone over them, or, you know, it's just, it never ends. But you know, the only thing you can do, I think, is take naps, meditate, pray, hope for the best, healing crystals, whatever you need. But you know, and you just take it in stride and hope for the next one. Keep going, just keep going.
Well said. So I want to ask about, because we're from the same place, I want to ask about money and that psychology. When I started my entrepreneurial journey, I didn't realize I was sabotaging myself, because socioeconomically, you know, Canton has different, you know, socioeconomics, although it's a small town, you would think we're all grouped as one. But my family and myself, the way we thought about money was how precious it was, that it was something that we needed to hold on to for dear life, because it was so necessary. But as an entrepreneur, raising capital and things of that nature, I didn't realize that I was sabotaging myself, because my idea of money had been, how would they give that to me because it's so precious, instead of, there's an opportunity for them. Money is a tool, and they're thankful for the opportunity to then diversify, increase their wealth. So how did you deal with money, the concept of money, and just graduating mentally and spiritually just within life in that manner?
Ooh, money. You know, I think when you do something you love, the money is the icing on the cake. It's a bonus, right? But when you're doing something you love, you would do it for free. You know, not to get too spiritual, but there's a scripture that says, where your treasure is, your heart is also. So whatever you put your heart into, whatever you feel, whatever feels natural and organic and right, and that's what the universe is telling you to do, it's probably where your treasure is and your money is. I look at it like, when you're working for your dreams, you have to be willing to do what it takes. And sometimes you got to get a job. I mean, there were times, and, you know, in those years where it was, you know, a little bit slower. Yeah, I had to do outside things. I had to hustle. I had to do other things. I had to, you know, work with people who maybe could just pay for the records. And I knew this isn't going anywhere. This person, you know, not that it wasn't going anywhere, but just that I know that they don't really love this. You know, this is someone who just has a lot of money. They can try anything. I want to be a pilot. I want to open a pottery store. I want to have a fashion line. I want to do anything. I've got the money to do it. Money doesn't always mean that you're going to be successful in something. It means that you have a lot of opportunities and options, but I still think it takes dedication and hard work. And there's nothing that can, you know, change that. The follow through, you know, that's half the battle, is showing up and doing the job and loving it, right? That's the most important thing. So, you know, the money comes and goes. It's my mom always said, a closed fist, nothing can get in and nothing can get out. You got to keep your hand open. You know, there's also the street saying, scared money don't make money, you know? So, you know, there's that too. It's like, sometimes you got to put your money where your mouth is and believe in your own dreams. There's been a lot of times where I invested in myself. You know, I can't get anyone to do it, so I'm going to take all of my own everything. And I feel like those are the times when the universe shows up and rewards you, like, here, this isn't exactly how you wanted it, but here's another opportunity. Here's some money to carry on a little bit further. You know what I mean? Here's something to give you yep, you've got it. Stay on track. I'm not just going to give you the whole thing right now, but yeah, stay on track. But I think if you're putting the money first, you're not making clear decisions. I always felt like, make sure that your bills are paid. You know, as long as my bills are paid, then I can make clear decisions to, you know, get to the next step. But money, definitely not the factor. When I went to New York, it wasn't, you know, it was more like, I want to be famous and be, you know, a big star. But then it was like, oh God, but now I got to pay my bills. So I got to take 100 million different jobs and, you know, and do whatever it takes to get that money to stay in the room. So yeah, don't be afraid to get side jobs, whoever's out there. It's fine.
Absolutely. And that's a real thing. You got to keep your eyes on the prize. So, you know, whatever means that you have to do in terms of on your journey, that's absolutely true. So, you know, I know no one's perfect, and me included. And I know even though you've reached the level of success that you have, I'm sure you still have missteps. Tell me about the mistakes you've been able to learn from.
Oh, wow. Lots of mistakes. I would say probably some of the biggest mistakes that I've made in the business have been counting your chickens before they hatch. Is that it? This thing is done and it's going to be amazing. And, and then it's not. You know what I mean? Staying humble is probably the most number one thing. Treating people right. That has never really been a mistake or a problem, but I feel like sometimes we overlook things, there have been times when I, just didn't. Showing up is half the battle, and I didn't show up. And that was the session that, was huge, or that was the person that somebody came in and it's like, oh man, woulda, coulda, shoulda. All I had to do was go, but I was having a bad day, or I was, that little bit of doubt can creep in. So I would say those are, maybe some mistakes, ego, very early on, ego things, or, putting too much weight into something and letting that, not knowing that what was on the other side of that was something great and beautiful. You just don't know what the future is going to be. So yeah, I mean, I've made hundreds of mistakes, but you can't, how do you learn if you don't make those mistakes? So.
Yeah. Tell me how you get to the big plan. Like, are you a vision board person? Are you a self-actualization person? How do you mentally map out your big visions?
I like to write things down. I'm really old school with the writing things down. I'm not I did a vision board a few years ago, and then I was like, what? Oh, hang on. I think someone's calling. Let me try to get that away.
You're a busy person, so
all good.
We'll be efficient.
Cool. Yeah, the vision board thing is, I mean, look, however you have to visualize it. I like to write things down. I'll tell you a really great story. My mom was really into writing things down, and when I was younger, she would do this thing where she would just write it out, and she would be like, let's, go to the mailbox. There's going to be some money in the mailbox, I have a feeling. And, my brothers and sisters are a lot older. And I was like, she did that whenever you guys were, growing up too. But yeah, she'd be like, go to the mailbox. I feel like there's a check in there. And I'd be like, Mom, here's the mail. There'd be nothing in there for weeks, right? Maybe even months. And then one day out of the clear blue sky, there'd just be some kind of check or something that would show up. And when I first, got into the business, I actually came to Los Angeles first, very young. And that didn't work out. And when I got home, before I went to New York, she and I had a really long talk, and I was like, I'm going to write myself some checks. I wrote 2 checks. And a few years later, when I got my deal with Universal, I went home to see my mom, and I had them under the bed, and I was like, Mom, I want to show you something. And I had 2 envelopes, and I was like, this one right here, this is the envelope, and I want you to open it. It was the exact amount that I got my very first advance from Universal. Was the exact same amount of the check that I got. And what's crazy is, thank God I have enough vision. I have another check that I have not opened yet because it was so extreme, but I'm like, it's only a matter of time. At some point, I'm going to open that second envelope, and be able to, relish in that. But there was something about, and I think I put like for music services rendered, and wrote it to myself. But, that kind of manifestation, I think, of just writing it down and saying, I believe that this is possible, and I believe it's going to happen. And, it was a total praise and happy, moment for us. But so now when I write things down, I also feel like, our thoughts have power, and what we say are, we have a lot of power in what we say. So it's hard to always just stay positive. And, I get in the woe is me, and, is this really going to happen, or this is hard or overwhelming, but then also speaking good things over your life and saying, no, this is going to happen, and I deserve it, and I'm worthy. And if this person could do it, and I read this article, this person did it, if they can do it, I can do it too. So really for me, it's writing down, but really just having the words, keeping the right people around to talk about the right things. It took me a long time to realize that too, having the right friendships and the right people to protect you, protect your thoughts, protect your dreams, protect your vision. Because somebody who just, may not mean well or just could be having a bad day and they give you that bad energy and then you take that down on and they might hang up the phone. I've had this recently where someone's like, my bad. That was just me having a bad day. And I didn't mean to. And I'm like, wow, I'm so glad you wrote that because I'm sitting here doubting my whole everything. And that was just your moment, not my moment, So I think it took me a long time to realize having the right people around is just key. You want to talk to people who are like, yeah, that's great, vibrating high with you. So, yeah.
So what's interesting is you keep answering or leading to my other questions, but my next question was about your mentors, the people, the one or the people that brought you along in this industry.
Oh, wow. I've had so many good mentors. I mean, you know, um, starting with definitely Jeff and Teresa at Sean John. Teresa was, I can't say enough about her. She was just probably just so direct and straightforward. I always told people it was like she would give you the straightforward, honest truth. She's like, I'm just going to tell it like it is and then put a little band-aid on it. It's like, just going to, go ahead and, give you the gripping truth. And then, it's like, okay, great. So that's where we are. And, this is what I think we should do now. So let's go have lunch. And it's like, what? Because you're just like, I think I got stabbed, but then you put a bandage on it. But she taught me a lot about how to be strong and how to talk to people direct, but then also be very nice about it, but not to kind of dance around things. Just a really great, I learned a lot about business watching her, operate in this world and, kind of build the Sean John thing. And then from there, Jennifer was a huge, influence and told me a lot of great things. And I mean, gosh, there's so many people, even as recently as Felix Howard, who was a songwriter friend that I had met in Sweden years ago, and he made the transition from writing to publisher. And, recently has been just a great influence of just a wealth of knowledge. But I mean, I'm truly blessed. I've got a lot of really great publishing people and label people and Mark Pitts and there's a lot of names that I can call on to say, hey, what do you think about this? Or a good friend, Daniel Glogauer, who I call a friendager, he's just, do this, don't do this, kind of my business sensei. So I've been really fortunate to have a lot of good people, to just be there for me. And lots of attorneys. It's weird. I don't know how I was lucky to get so many attorney friends, but that's been a good thing to have friends who are attorneys.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We definitely had that discussion. So how do you find balance in all of this?
I don't. No, balance. What's that? No, family and friends, that's really my balance. If I'm not working, I'm, with my family, with my friends, and just, spending time with the people that I love, really. That's the balance. And TV. I love TV. I'm a big TV watcher. I'm an avid TV movie watcher. So my life with TV is just extraordinary. I love watching TV. So it just takes me to another world. I wish I could say I read a lot of books, but no, I'm a big TV fanatic. So TV helps me a lot.
What's your favorite genre?
Oh, I love thrillers. Any kind of psychological thriller or something's going to happen. I watched this really crazy show on Amazon, Tales from the Loop. And I'm like, it was so disturbing that I could barely even, by the third episode, I was like, no, I can't even do this. But I'm still so intrigued that every now and then I'm like, should I finish this show? This is so crazy. But yeah, I love a good psychological thriller. Yeah.
Nice. So Boot Music Publishing, right? That you're there now.
Yeah, Buddha Music. Buddha Music, right place, right time. Felix was one of the people that brought me there. I had met Ben Buddha years ago. He brought some writers over from Germany and we just had good synergy. I was actually writing with a lot of his people then, and it was wonderful. We just kind of hit it off and clicked. And I didn't know a lot about the company at the time. I knew they were, the biggest in Germany and kind of, a really big indie around the world. But I had been doing my own thing for so long, and I ran into Felix at a party, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm doing licensing for music now." And he's like, "We're looking for someone to do licensing." And it was great when I came in. They're just starting here. Well, they're huge in France, number one in France, and big in the UK. In the US, they were just growing their market and growing their roster. So I came in at the right time and had a lot of big ideas. And I think they looked at me like I was a little crazy, but it's been a really good experience. It's opened a lot of doors and has led to a lot of really cool things. So yeah, very, very cool company, very cool experience.
You had a really crazy idea. I don't know if you can go into it, maybe not, but it had to do with the Carolinas.
Oh yeah, I'll tell that story. About 3 months in, I got a call from a good friend, music supervisor, who was like, "There's this kid. He's in Charlotte, and you probably got about 30 days to get him. You need to get him right now." And sent me the music, and I was like, "This is really different. This is very unique. This is wow. What is this?" And maybe a week later, a good friend and music producer I'd known for a long time called and mentioned the same name. So I went to, Buddha, and I was like, I'm going to get on a plane and go to Charlotte. It was kind of my first big signing that I was looking at. And I went to Charlotte, met with those guys, fell in love with the team, everything. And I called my boss. I went to New York right after that, and he had a show in New York. And another guy, Delmar, from our sister company downtown, met me in New York. We went to the show. And, Delmar was like, "What do we do? We got to get this guy." And I literally called my boss that night and was like, "Look, let's put $1 million in a briefcase. I'm just going to, meet the accountant. We'll go right there and let's just sign this guy right now. Let's take it off the table. $1 million, be done with it." And he was like, "Did you get enough sleep? Are you, you've been traveling a lot? Are you okay? Because that's never, ever going to happen. We're never going to do anything like that." And I think that they thought that it was crazy, but to be honest, we should have did that because the deal was, far more than that, and a very lucrative deal too. Ended up being the baby, super talent, and just, amazing, amazing, amazing talent. But that's definitely one of my favorite stories. And I, somebody that I was just absolutely crazy for. I was like, we must get him. I won't give up. I'll fight and fight and fight. And really fun time. I learned so much from that deal, and just, from his team, and really, really great to be involved with those guys. So that was my first venture into working for a company. And, hindsight is 2020. My boss is like, "We should have did that. I should have just let you do that." But, but who knows? You never know with these things. I could have did it, and, you never know. But with that one, I was positive, you could tell what it was going to be. You can just tell in certain instances. I knew at least. So, yeah.
Well, it was very evident, very evident. Geo Massive.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Geo Massive is super special to me because it's kind of my everything world, my everything company. Prior to going to Buddha, they knew that I had, already signed writers at Cobalt, and had already started a company. And, they were, Ben's just a great guy. He wasn't afraid of kind of me being able to do everything, which, in Hollywood, you have to be able to, everybody kind of wears multiple hats. I haven't met one person who just does one thing. There are a lot of people who sit behind desks every day who can sing and who can play piano and who can, write TV shows. And who can act, or, it's just a dance. Or I'm amazed by the number of people who do multiple, who can do multiple things. So it just wasn't a foreign concept. Geo came about because when I was kind of phasing out a little bit of the writing, I still had a lot of opportunities. And, people, it was really just connecting dots. A lot of brands, new people at brand partnership companies and influencers. It kind of started out putting people together. Worked with a really great K-pop artist, Jessica Jung, who was starting her, new makeup company, and, Blanc and Eclair, and wanted to have a launch. And, I have a lot of ideas. I'd like to think I'm kind of an idea person and really good on the spot with ideas. So Geo Massive kind of started as more of an idea company, just putting things together and putting people together. And it's been great. We work with songwriters, but we really work with anybody. Right now we're looking to get into the NFT space that everybody's going so crazy for right now. So that's been a lot of meetings there. I'm still trying to figure it out. I've got my 5-year-old diagram chart that I had somebody like, can you break this down for me? Like I'm a first grader. But it's a very exciting space. So yeah, Geo is, awesome. Really excited to be able to do that too.
NFT is a thing for sure.
And it's growing really fast.
Right. And I was going to mention what my brother is building. He's in UX UI, and he's building a virtual space, but I won't get into it because I'm not sure how much he wanted to talk about it yet. But I wanted to ask about just your goals. Would you ever run a record label?
You're the second person to ask me that this week. I love publishing. I love the song side of it. The record label side is really, I'm not saying that I wouldn't. I love music and I love artists. There's something very special about the songwriter to me. The artist, it's an up and down thing. It's an up and down thing for anybody, but the songwriter is the behind the scenes person. The producer, they go from project to project. When I went to New York, I wanted to be an artist, but I quickly realized, and I realized that it's really cool to be able to be a country singer one day, a pop girl the next day, an R&B person this day, maybe do some rap hooks. Far more fun than just singing the same song night after night and people know you for that, or trying to break out of that, or trying to live up to that. So on the label side, I think it just takes such a special, unique focus of, creating that album, but also taking care of the artist and finding somebody who's, legendary and, can go the distance, but is innovative and fresh and new. And I think on the publishing side, it's the songwriter. The artist is the huge part of it, but really the songwriters have such a different life because they work with so many different people. So yeah, I love publishing because I feel like it's just more nurturing. The label thing is like super fast paced. You're here, you're on it, but publishing is just more loving and more kumbaya. And, the label is the bottom line and the dollars and the money. And, publishing is, there's a market share aspect, but it's more in my world of, just kind of caring about people and looking after them in a different way. But I'd be open.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so I want to just kind of round it off and start to land the plane, but I want to get into a little bit of legacy. So your journey is extremely important to everyone, including little girls. And I just want you to tell me a little bit about the Right Girl organization and Charmel School of Etiquette.
Oh, that's awesome. Right Girl is something that I was so excited to be a part of when I first got to LA. Michelle Lewis, who is a part of that, and I believe she's a founder. Just such a wonderful, warm spirit. She is a lot like me, really cares. She started Sona, which is the songwriting group, which has made incredible strides in this business. With the MLC and licensing and everything in the government. They're just changing laws and changing lives. And I love what they did. I felt like their message was so powerful. And anytime we can give back and talk to kids about writing, especially, young women and young ladies and girls, it's just so important to me. I recently found out that the young lady who was the poet, Amanda, I don't want to mess up her last name, I believe it's Gorman. Sorry, say it again.
At the White House?
Yes, at the White House. Yes, for the inauguration. I read that she was a part of Right Girl, and it just blew me away because what they've done for all these years is you're thinking that you may not be getting through. Like these girls just came and spent a day, and we talked to them about songwriting and poetry and book writing, but to see it in action and for it to come to fruition in that kind of way is just overwhelming and so powerful. Really, really great to be a part of that. With Charmel School, based out of Michigan, it's actually my sister runs that and has put it together, and it's been, it's been a long time. I think she's been doing this now a little over 20 years, and just working with so many community organizations, and every chance that I get to talk to her girls or go and meet with the Girl Scouts or, any other community programs in schools. And I mean, it's wonderful. I actually, one of the deals that I put together, we had a song that got pretty far. It didn't come out, but it was a quote that I got from my sister that she would tell her. It's an etiquette school, so she teaches them, social graces and how to manage social media, and it's everything from how to use your fork and knife and table settings to how to cross your legs and carry yourself. Just it's a really lost art of etiquette, and I'm always, every time I'm around my sister, I'm like, is my fork right? Am I cutting my steak? Am I doing this right? When the food is done, did I put my fork, do I put it up or down, or, so it's great to do that with her. But she had a slogan that she was telling her little girls, which was men have the swag and girls have the sway. Women have the sway. And we made that into a song lyric, and, two of my writers got a deal from that song, so so I, love what she's doing, and just love being a part of that. Anytime I can give back and talk to anyone, even when people reach out on LinkedIn, I just remember what that was like. Social media, I try to do my best to go through messages and write people back, listen to their music, and give them honest feedback and say, I want you to know that I actually heard it, because I know what it felt like when somebody took the time to do that for me. And a little bit of encouragement it could just change. It could make or break somebody's day, but also be the thing that keeps them going, and if I can do that and be a part of that, I definitely want to do it. And I hope they'll pay it forward.
That's so powerful. So I like to end my interviews on, of course, legacy, but I want to know, where do you see yourself a year from today? What do you want your legacy to be? And I know that's short term, but what do you want your legacy to be at the end of the day?
I want to be known as one of the good ones, as one of the good people. Having accomplishments, that's amazing, and such a huge blessing. But I would really, like for people to say, well, Michelle, was a great person in this business and reached back and helped people and did what she said and said, meant what she said and it helped people. I want to be known for all the people that I helped, just like I had so many great mentors and people that have pulled me along and put me in situations and, showed up for me. I want to show up for as many people as possible. And, even in a year's time, it's, having the success of saying, yes, another Grammy nomination or another, all that stuff is well and good. But if there's somebody who, got the chance to live their dreams, and then in turn, they're going to do that for somebody else. There's so many stories where people are burned in this business, or they give up because it was really hard, or they have a lot of bad stories. Or, if I can be the person to say, wow, I had a lot of bad stories, but when Michelle came in, it changed my perception of the music business, because I think some people just think, no, you're going to get screwed, or somebody's going to take advantage of you, and you got to be scared. So I'd like to open it up to where people don't feel like they have to be so afraid or that they're going to get taken advantage of. I want to be the change that I wanted to see for myself, that the publisher that I wanted someone to be to me, and just treat people the way that I want to be treated. So that's what I would like for my legacy to be, is that I made changes that will benefit people for years to come.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much. I mean, for you to land it right there, thank you. I mean, it's just so powerful.